We live in a crazy, amazing, incredible world. Not this one. Although, this is pretty cool. This is Minecraft. I'm talking about the real world. I'm just using my screen recorder to give you some background. I'm sure most of you know what Minecraft is. As for reality, that's a far more interesting game. What is going on in the real world? Who are we? What are the possibilities? These questions and more are the subject of morality. This channel is called Moral Literacy, all one word. As you can tell, it's a combination of morality and literacy. The name was also inspired by the concept of iteration, or, with my weak attempt at wordplay, iteracy. I've got Minecraft going in the background for those of you who are watching this, not just listening. I did that because I wanted to give that visual part of your appetite something to play with while you listen to what I've got to say. If the audio can't capture your attention on its own, maybe my poor skills at Minecraft will be just enough to keep your attention long enough for the concepts I want to discuss to make it into your brain. I'm just learning how to create YouTube content, so please lower your expectations on that front. I want to accomplish a few things with this channel, which I'll list now. I want to, number one, bring attention to the subject of morality in what I hope is an engaging way. Two, I want to make clear the point that morality and many key concepts related to morality suffer from very bad definitions. We could go so far as to say that some of them are, in the words of Miss Ayn Rand, anti-concepts. I'm calling them squirrel definitions. This is a reference to the Pixar movie Up and to the dog from that show with the collar, which allowed him to speak English and do it pretty well. Except when he was distracted, at which time he would point and yell, "Squirrel!" The most effective bad definitions do this. They draw your attention to something unrelated to the concept you're trying to define and provide a distraction from the fact that you still don't have a definition. Number three, I want to provide a list of definitions of key concepts related to the subject of morality. Number four, I want to help push forward the study of human mental evolution. I'm calling this psychohistory. Number five, I want to provide tools that can help morality to become a science. I've been writing about this subject for years. Now it's time to share, for me to get organized, and it's time, hopefully, to inspire some of you to help with the goals of this channel. Your participation is most welcome. Introduction: Jump-starting the science of morality. Humanity has a huge job to do. It's one of our grand challenges, maybe the biggest, hardest, and most important. Our species has faced, and still faces, many grand challenges. Hunger, thirst, disease, cold, clean air, predators, natural disasters of every kind, and our trapped condition on this planet, as well as our lack of an asteroid defense program, are some of our grand challenges. A grand challenge is a problem of great significance and far-reaching effects. Understanding our own existence and the staggering implications of the fact of our own consciousness may be the greatest challenge we as a species will ever face, since it hands us the science of individual choice, or the problem of morality. As apparently the most intelligent species in the known universe, we've never solved the moral problem. We've never even defined it. The title of this introduction is Jump-starting the Science of Morality, because we don't even consider morality to be a science. Perhaps Creating the Science of Morality would be a better title. We tell each other that there are no moral principles. We are told there's no directly measurable evidence for objective or subjective morality. Without evidence or even a foundation of first principles, how could morality be a science? It seems the subject of morality must remain a highly interesting, highly important subject of study, but that it cannot be a science in the same way that physics, chemistry, manufacturing, biology, or rocketry are sciences. We tell each other that humans aren't natural. We refer to nature and the human experience as two different things. We hear all the time that no principles apply to human behavior. This is used as an explanation and sometimes as an excuse for religion. Only God, we hear, could possibly understand humanity well enough to provide rules of behavior. Only a God could lead us to a desirable result, such as peace on earth, or our dreams of a utopia or heaven. We tell each other that humanity is above or at least outside of nature. The religious narrative tells us that nature and the universe were created for humanity to provide us with a testing ground and an environment for our education. With such presumption and such huge handicaps, is it any wonder that morality is lumped in with ethics and philosophy as outside the realm of science? How could morality possibly be a science? It isn't even defined, and that very lack of definition is one of the main elements of the moral problem. I was raised religious and was devout for 40 years. I grew up with moral certainty. Since leaving religion almost 10 years ago, I've learned to live with the uncertainty that must accompany scientific inquiry. I want my certainty back, if possible. I want morality to be a science. I want to live in a world where the moral problem is not only well defined, but well on its way to being an established branch of science. I believe that there are principles of morality. I believe that morality is in its infancy, as were geology, chemistry, and physics a few hundred years ago. I believe that morality is just as susceptible to scientific study and progress as any other field. I want to encourage the first moral scientist to step up and put on their metaphorical lab coat. The moral problem suffers from one massive obstacle to its solution. Morality is so interesting and so important that early on in our history, it had brakes applied to its study and advancement. Deliberate and malicious brakes. The first universally understood moral principle was might makes right. In sign language, it's the raised fist or pointed weapon, signifying to all, do it or else. I have imagined this principle being discovered by our cave-dwelling ancestors. I've also imagined that the discovery of that principle was both the beginning and the end of moral scientific inquiry. I've implied above that humanity is actually part of the natural world and shares a kinship with all other life. But the above view of our separateness isn't without reason. We are unique among all of the other species we know of, in at least one way. Our uniqueness consists of the fact that our human mental process seems to be the most advanced among all other creatures who benefit from the existence of DNA. In many ways, we seem to have the most highly developed perception, imagination, language, empathy, tool-making skills, and intelligence of all other species. I say we in order to cherry-pick the best and brightest among us, since we also have members of our species who would not compete well in any of these categories and might be bested by any rat or centipede. Our mental faculty makes humanity susceptible to both the benefits and challenges of a second form of evolution. In this, we do seem to be outside of nature, but in fact, we are simply, apparently, at the top of nature's list in terms of smarts. So, with our intellectual and natural gold medal, humanity is not only the inheritor of a vastly complicated and amazing biological evolution, but we also have inherited a unique mental evolution. It was our mental evolution that stopped, or rather diverted, the science of morality into the realm of mysticism. With the scientific discovery of "I'll bash your face in," further research into morality became highly restricted. Inquiries down the path of individual freedom would have made might makes right too unpopular to practice. So, brutes and pirates became, out of moral survival instinct, the first managers of the science of morality. The other peace and freedom-loving remnants of early humanity, who must have existed, unfortunately didn't have the advantage of a well-developed science of morality to let them see what their brutish and piratic fellows were doing before it was too late. Even more unfortunately, perhaps a million years later, we still don't have the aid of the science of morality. And harder still, the gravitation-like influence of these millennia of mental evolution down the path of piracy has cemented us in tradition, perspective, and habit, making the job of achieving moral escape velocity even more difficult. Biological evolution is an amazing thing. The individuals who have looked into the subject of biological evolution have, over the last 50 years or so, made some amazing strides. The simple fact of the genetic mistake and of the survival mechanism that results has given us the biological universe we see all around us and inside us. We have inherited the human form with its incredible power and with all of its weakness. Biological evolution has worked for millions and even billions of years to hand us the gift of our human existence. So what of mental evolution? I would argue that, of the two, mental evolution is the more potentially powerful. Mental evolution directly impacts the moral question. I've defined the moral question as, what should I do? With the human mental faculty, this question is all the more important. There are two questions feeding this moral question of what should I do, and they are so much bigger for us than they are for any other species we know. These foundational questions are, what can I do, and what do I want? Our human ability makes these questions profound, more profound perhaps than they are for any other form of life we know. Mental evolution happens in the same way as biological evolution, with a simple mechanism, the mistake. The mistake is at the heart of both of these mental and biological evolutions. Biological evolution happens at the speed of a species generation. For humans, that's roughly 20 years per iteration. Mental evolution, on the other hand, happens at the speed of testing an idea. This makes mental evolution happen at a time scale many orders of magnitude faster. This great speed of mental evolutionary progress makes it the significant and the limiting factor. Our understanding of biological evolution is improving at a tremendous rate, and the implications for healing, life extension, and adaptability are staggering. Our understanding of mental evolution, unfortunately, is at a standstill. The same standstill it has been on for thousands of years, halted by brutal managers. But while our understanding can be, and has been, deliberately crippled, the process itself continues with or without our well-articulated understanding. And while we may be missing our chance to observe the process, that mental evolution still goes on at a pace that makes our biological evolution seem frozen in place. I'm borrowing heavily from Isaac Asimov, the famous science fiction writer, in putting together this project for establishing or jump-starting the science of morality. In Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, he talks about a field of study called psychohistory, a mathematical approach to predicting the future of galactic humanity. The set of formulas created by this field of study he calls the prime radiant. In the next episode, I'll go more into detail about psychohistory and the prime radiant. I hope you've enjoyed this content, and I'll see you in the next video.